Don't redirect your anger at me.
Then I'm going to talk about me, myself, and my problems here for a little while.
The Rule 34 questions were last week.
That's not a puzzle, it's pushing blocks.
If a wave of dragons are coming to raise my town and burn my crops, that's pretty awful to me directly.
But I want to hear about your other shitty characters.
Of course, invest in a robotic Flava Flav.
This is the Debate This podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to Debate This, the podcast where we yell at each other and say a bunch of dumb things and make fun of Todd, because fuck you guys. This is continuing our Spooktacular Express. Is that what we decided to call it? Was it Spooktacular Express?
That's exactly
that
what
sounds
we decided
right.
to call it.
Cool, got it. So we're continuing our Spooktacular Express, and we're going to share some awesome ghost stories for you today. So these are Creepypastas. If you're not familiar, Creepypasta was made famous in the 4chan. I'm just talking out of my ass here, but I think it was from the 4chan era of internet message boards, where all these internet people would workshop their creative writing stories and turn them into there were some horror stories that came out of it. So I think it started like copypastas turned into creepypastas, and people started writing about haunted Pokemon, and here we are. We're going to talk about them.
For those of you who really have never heard of creepypastas, Slenderman was originally a creepypasta.
No, I didn't know that.
There are a few. Oh, there's a big movie came out a couple years ago that was originally a creepypasta that the author sold the rights to. The name is escaping me. The plot is escaping me. I just remember it happened. But they seem like, at first glance, like just, bad internet stories, but people, some legitimate things have really come out of these stories, and it's a really cool aspect of middle internet culture, I guess.
It's kind of like fan fiction where most of it is bad, but then there are always gems. There's always, diamonds in the rough. And I don't know, we're going to talk about some of those today. I don't know if they're all gems, but some of them are definitely gems.
The connecting theme, all of these are video game based. All of these came out of the early video game era, and yeah, that's why we're doing it on our podcast. Is our video game and comic book podcast. We are talking about video game creepypastas.
Because that's what we do here. Talk about video games and comic books.
Hooray.
And now we're going to shoehorn that into the Halloween season, just like every other digital content creation. But if you want to follow our digital content creation, you should do so on Debate This Cast on all of the social medias, including Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, if you shout us out on Instagram, we'll say nice things about you on the podcast, because we don't have many friends. So one of my friends, his name is Brad, and he shouted us out on he shouted us out on the Instagram, and we wanted to shout him out on the podcast. And I think that's how shout outs work.
What up, Brad?
You are an amazing human being. You're a wonderful drummer, and Matt's friend, and thank you for listening to the podcast.
I love you.
And Andrew thought you were a bot, and
I didn't. Oh, it was only for like a minute.
I'm
sorry, Brad. I love you.
Conversation.
No, Brad's my best friend now.
The only bot that we've dealt with was the one that talked about how her doctor helped her rid her of her diseases, and Kyle made me delete the response back to her, and I'm still a little salty about that.
All right, this is going to be a long one, so let's dig in. All right, so I'm going to start it off. This is probably my favorite creepypasta that I've ever read. It's called Ben Drowned. It's based on Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. It's fairly popular. It came out, I want to say like 8 years ago, by at the time the user was named Jaduzable, and he's since gone on to publish 1 or 2 books. Like he's kind of made something out of it. So it's the story is all about a haunted cartridge of Majora's Mask. So it's a lot of fun. All right, let's get into it. The story begins when a college student moves into his sophomore year dorm room. After being gifted an old N64 from a friend, he decides to go around to check some local garage sales, trying to find a good deal on some old cartridges. Scoring copies of Pokemon Silver, GoldenEye, and F-Zero across different spreads, he comes upon one last house. As he gets out of the car, he's greeted by an old man who flashes a crooked smile in his direction. The student asks for a video game, and the old man responds that he'll be back in a jiffy. He actually said jiffy.
It's important.
The old man came back with a gray cartridge in tow. Nothing written on it, no box art, except for the word Majora written in black permanent marker. Filled with excitement, the student asks how much for the cart, and the man simply says, "You can have it." He says it belonged to a boy about his age who doesn't live here anymore. Okay, that's kind of an odd detail, but sure, whatever. Free copy of Majora's Mask. I'm down. So the student ignores that strange remark and goes on with his day. He drives home, thinking about his new haul, hoping that, oh man, was this actually a real thing, or maybe it's just some, crappy bootleg, or maybe it doesn't even work at all. He gets home, he boots up the cart, and to his surprise, was greeted by that iconic heart-shaped mask, the whoosh, whoosh. The intro to Majora's Mask. Cool. That said, something was a little off. When he pressed start and went to the file select, there was only one save file available, and simply named Ben, in all capital letters. The game ran just fine. There was no glitches, no lag. Ben had made it up to the Icona Canyon section, so he was close to finishing. One thing was kind of weird, though. At times, the NPCs would call the character Link instead of Ben. And for anyone who's played that game, it's pretty standard where whatever name you use for your file, that's the character name that's inserted. But randomly, they would just say Link regardless. So, yeah, maybe a weird programming issue or fluke, whatever. He played around a bit and decided, okay, well, I'm just going to start my own file. So he deleted Ben and started his own game.
Uh-oh.
Thinking it would fix the issue, he entered into Clocktown for the first time, and the first time he was the first point at which he was going to be addressed, the NPCs didn't call his character anything. Where the name would pop up as Link or something else, there was just nothing. As he continued through the game, other weird things would happen. Like he was leaving the astronomer's house in Clocktown. He was immediately transported to the final boss room, and not the clock tower, but inside the moon, where you actually fight Majora. But it wasn't the Majora fight, it was just an empty room, and Skull Kid was there. Skull Kid's not there, it's Majora, it's the puppet, whatever that creepy puppet guy is. I love this game. As he
I did love this game, and now you're going to ruin it for me.
I am going to ruin it for you. So naturally, his reaction was, okay, well, he went to go reset the console, and as he did so, a weird message popped up. It says there's a text box. It says, "You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation." ... That's weird. So that is a prompt in the game. It comes in at the Stockpont Inn. That's how you get one of the masks in the wedding mask trade. Then another prompt comes up. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? He clicks no. Clicks no again. Well, no's not an option. So I guess click yes. The screen immediately...
Is that a thing in like the actual Majora's Mask? Or is this I've never played Majora's Mask.
Yeah, so these are all assets. These are all assets in the game that are just kind of shuffled around. So, he's...
Yeah, but like, can you usually say no, or are you always forced to go?
I think in that
you
one,
can always,
you use the big key.
You can always say no, but
Yeah.
it will just like
it just dumps
end
you
the
out.
Conversation and
Yeah.
like
it's
not
like
advance the story.
It's
so,
like the old RPG standard, like, this is your final, like, do you want to move forward, confirm kind of thing.
Got it.
So like pretty normal part of the game, but just kind of shuffled around a little bit. So he clicks yes. The screen fades white. Dun dun. Dawn of a new day. This is where things got a little weird. So he walks back into Clocktown, but Dawn of a New Day, under those words, is just a bunch of gobbledygook text. There's like a bunch of slashes and stuff, so like clearly something's been glitched. He appeared back in Clocktown, but it was all very, very wrong. There were no guards greeting him, no carpenters walking about, no dogs running by, no one. And the usual background music, that. It's
really, really nice.
Yeah,
it's good music.
It's super fun. It's like a happy.
And you're
gonna
ruin that for me too.
It was replaced by the Song of Healing, but backwards. So the music starts quiet, but slowly gets louder and louder, as if to build up to something, but never does. Then the laughter. The fucking Happy Mask Salesman.
The worst character to ever exist ever.
Yeah. You can't see him, but you can hear the laughter. The laughter follows him as he goes through this broken and distorted version of Clocktown. There are missing textures. Entire pieces of the ground are gone, just looking like Link is standing in an endless void. He tried to zone out to force the game to reload, but nothing happened. He tried to warp out with the Song of Soaring, but nothing would happen. He thought, okay, maybe if I kill myself, it'll at least force a soft reset. So, unfortunately, there's no real way to kill yourself in Clocktown proper. So he headed over to the laundry pool to drown himself. That's really the only way you can take damage if there are no enemies. As he approached the pool, the game took control. Link grabbed his own head as if actually defying the command. The screen flashed for a moment as the image of the Happy Mask Salesman appeared on screen, accompanied by the sounds of Skull Kid's bone-chilling scream.
Ooh. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the screen returned, there it was. Staring back at him was the wooden Link statue that you summon with the Elegy of Emptiness. Now, if you don't know what this is, this statue. It's a little 4-foot, like it was carved out of wood, and it's Link, but it's very precisely not Link. Like, the face is wrong. Majora's Mask is a very creepy game to begin with. The face is a little wrong, it's just a little off, and it's got this big, toothy grin. So the student instinctively ran away back to Clocktown proper, but that statue kept appearing, like he was actually summoning it, because that's something you can do in the game. But he wasn't doing anything, he wasn't playing the song, the cutscene kept playing. No matter where he ran, that dead-eyed, toothy grin statue was sure to appear, appearing right behind him. At some time, the screen faded in and out again, and he found himself eventually on the top of the clock tower with Skull Kid, once again hovering on top of him. Now this is part of the normal game. At the beginning, you end up at the clock tower with Skull Kid above you, and you have to shoot a bubble, knock the ocarina out of his hands. But normally at that point, you're a Deku Scrub. He was still Link. So he had his normal items. He had a bow and arrow, he had a potion, but this was very different. None of the normal music was playing. This was the Stone Tower theme, but in reverse. Skull Kid wasn't saying anything, he was just floating there. Link, he had full control of Link, the student. So he was like, well, let's again try to force reset this. He shot an arrow to see what it did. Shot an arrow and hit Skull Kid right in the face. Skull Kid does nothing. A couple seconds pass and a text box pops up and says, "That won't do you any good. Hee hee." Immediately, he watched as Link's little avatar was floated above and started levitating about 2 feet off the ground, and was immediately set on fire, instantly killing him.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Now again, these are all assets in the game, but obviously very, very much shuffled around.
Used very differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Differently is a good word for that.
Now keep in mind, like I said, everything up to this point could have been explained by weird glitches. We've all glitched out of a zone. You know, you've seen how those things can kind of happen. How zones get confused.
Loaded things incorrectly.
Games loaded things incorrectly.
Yeah.
You sword jump across a map in Halo.
Yeah, exactly. But
exactly.
There's never really a situation where Link is set on fire and then the screen just sits there. So at this point, he was like, okay, something's going on. When Link died, and this was the weird thing, when Link died, there was no game over screen. The screen just stayed there completely blank, stationed on Link's dead body. A minute passes, and the screen slowly fades to black. The words come up, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Hard fucking reset. He loads the game again, goes back to the title screen, goes back into the file select. You notice something was odd. The save file has changed. His character name, he just used the default link, had been replaced with "your turn."
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah.
Big nope salad.
That's bury the cartridge in my backyard.
Set it on fire.
That's
yeah. So he decided to load "your turn," and he was taken right back to that clock tower. Nothing had changed. Link is still laying there dead, and Skull Kid's floating above him.
He felt an icy hand grip his heart.
Hard reset, hard
The
reset,
hook
hard
was on
reset.
the car handle.
One more hard reset. All right. Now a new save file available. Not just "your turn," but there was a new save file. It said Ben. And this was the exact same file from before. The 3 masks, the 3 out of the 4 boss masks, the save file at Iconic Canyon. Nothing had changed. Okay, that's enough Majora's Mask for today. So the next day, the student went back to the old man's house to see what the fuck was up. What's going on here? Unfortunately, no one was around except for a neighbor just mowing their lawn a couple houses away. Through some light conversation, the neighbor revealed that the man who lived there was actually moving, hence the garage sale, and he didn't really have any family. No sons, no daughters, no spouse. So, who was Ben? At this point, he just assumed that this was a grandson, a nephew, or something. The neighbor's expression turned grim. He kind of shied away a little bit, and he said, well, Ben was a young boy who lived in the neighborhood about 8 years ago, and he really wouldn't explain anything else, and left. Okay, time to get back to the game.
Why?
Gotta get to the bottom of this, Kyle.
Ooh.
Like every good horror story.
That's how
It
you get
starts and ends
cursed.
with curiosity. Booting it up, he was greeted by that familiar whooshing sound of the mask. And our 2 save files, "Your Turn" and "Ben," were both there. So he selected the latter. Let's see what's going on with Ben. So he was definitely appeared in Stone Tower Temple, which, again, that's tracks. That's about where this save file was. But the title card didn't say Stone Tower Temple. It was like an S, a T, an upside down N, and then a bunch of other glitchy symbols. Link's body was also not completely straight. It was like kind of cocked at a 90-degree angle. Like he wrenched his back and couldn't fix it, like some sort of crazy cartoon character. And the polygons kept spasming intermittently. Again, very much like you're playing an Ubisoft game. Ooh, that's a burn.
Well, there goes our
Good.
Ubisoft.
Yeah, hopefully they don't listen this
I was
far
waiting
into
to
this
tell you guys
episode.
about.
There was also a curious item in one of the C icons, something that was clearly like some sort of bitmap image that was not a part of the original game's assets. No music, just high-pitched laughter.
What was the image, if I can ask?
I believe it was like a note. It's not dwelled upon.
Okay.
I don't think he could use it. So he runs around a bit, and then boom, cutscene. Another fucking statue. Couple seconds pass, fade to black.
Which is, can I just stop? Like, that is a scary enough screen when you play the game.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's this clock going on the whole time. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm almost done. So now it's just got layers on it.
If you're going to haunt a video game, there's probably no better option than
You know,
a
I can
pretty
think
good
of a lot
one.
of games that's the scariest.
Yep. So he appeared again in Clocktown. But this time, everything was legit. He actually appeared as a Deku Scrub, just like the beginning of the game. Tattle was there, the little fairy, the little blue fairy that follows you. But she has a line which says, what just happened? It's as if everything has ... started over. But this time she didn't say started over. It just ended at, it's as if everything has ... And as she finished that text box, music cuts out and you hear Happy Mask Salesman again. He definitely, the player definitely had control in a fixed clock town, but the weird thing this time was that the camera was actually fixed on the door. Like if you can imagine the door that you enter in, it's like the camera wasn't following Link around, so he was watching himself kind of move around in a weird angle. And then the screen flashes and the fucking Happy Mask Salesman guy appears, and the text box, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Whiteout. When the screen fades in again, he's standing in Termina Field. But now this time, the HUD is gone. No items, no clock, no timeline, just Link in an empty environment. He walks around a bit. The enemies are gone. There's usually the Zelda theme is playing at this point. No Zelda theme. The only thing present was the Happy Mask Salesman theme playing in the background. He started walking toward the swamp. He saw a welcome sight in the distance. A few figures. At least there's something else in this part of the game. But knowing this game's pretense for absolute fuckery, he approached slowly. As the figures became clear, he watched in horror as Epona and Skull Kid bugged out in some cyclic animation loop. And there was one more figure who stood completely motionless, stared back with the same dead-eyed, toothy smile that had been burned into his brain. Here stood the Happy Mask Salesman, also motionless, looking back at him with that fucking shit-eating grin. Okay. He had an idea. Maybe there's something that I can force this to move forward. There are several points in the real game that you play the Song of Healing to progress. So maybe this would do the same thing. So he played the Song of Healing, as he finished, an ear-shattering scream blasted through the TV, and the Happy Mask song sped up. Like on the clock tower, Link immediately burst into flames and died.
Jesus.
And like on the clock tower, the other figures just watched that lifeless body. No game over. He just watched as minutes turned into hours as the gangly Happy Mask Salesman stood and stared at Link's corpse. Fade to black. One more, you've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Next loading. Screen loads, and this time he's now in Great Bay. The game forced a new cutscene, but this time not summoning a statue, but rather Link putting on the Zora mask. And again, for those of you who aren't aware of this, one more creepy part of Majora's Mask is he has this painful transition as he's like absorbing all of the like fears and emotions and sadness of these characters. I love this game.
Yeah, it's way more intricate than I remember it being.
Yeah. He saw Epona over in the distance on the beach, standing about a foot in water, so he walked over. As he approached, he saw that Epona was making a lot of racket, neighing, and angled in a way that looked like it showed she was signaling an area off of the distance. It was a long shot, but it wasn't the first time that he felt like the game was trying to communicate him. So why not? He started swimming down in the direction that she signaled. Sure enough, there it was. Looking back at him was a small green statue of a boy standing at the bottom of the ocean, smiling at nothing. As he approached the statue, another animation that doesn't exist at all, the Zora character started drowning. Now, how is this possible? Did someone would actually have to build this in? Zora Link can't drown. That's the whole point. That's what he does. He swims.
You get these really cool like swimming powers that make it look like you're just gliding through the water. So how is
Zora Link drown? Like someone would have to build this asset. Like that does not exist in the game. Something else that was different about this. So every other time that he died, the game would restart in a new area, but it didn't restart this time. It just booted him right back to the title screen. So naturally, he pressed start, navigated to file select, and there was one more new entry. A new entry which, in two simple words, told him the entire story. Ben drowned. Is that why the statue appeared at the laundry pool? Was the statue trying to lead him into the ocean? Maybe it was trying to protect him. Who the hell knows? He shut off the N64. Still had no idea where this game came from, but he did know one thing. Ben wouldn't be needing it back anytime soon. Ben drowned.
I don't like it.
Thank you.
I don't like it at all.
Damn.
So there's a lot more there. There's a that is as truncated as I possibly could have got. There is a whole like Chatterbot. I don't know if you remember Chatterbots, those like populated like AIM bots. There is a whole Chatterbot message thread that's like it's 10 pages long, but that's the gist of it. There is also if you are interested in Ben Drowned, there's some really interesting YouTube videos out there. He actually the guy that wrote this recorded like he fucked up a cartridge of Majora's Mask and recorded all of this happening. So there's a visual component to it. It's very cool.
I love this one because, like you said, or I think Todd said while you were telling the story, Majora's Mask is such an eerie game already.
Yeah.
That like, of course, it makes sense that there's a haunted cartridge of Majora's Mask, like haunted by the entire ghost of this kid. Like
the entire overarching of Majora's Mask just makes you feel antsy. The whole thing, from the first time you start playing it, and the moon's gonna crash into like the earth in 3 days, and you can't do anything to stop it. Like you just feel bad the whole time.
It's one of those games that like leaves you with more questions than it answers. To begin with, and like it's spawned all kinds of theories out like anyway, and like so like people have assigned all kinds of meaning to the different parts of the game that like that's what I love about the story. This was one of the stories I would have picked if I had been quicker to the draw. Just because
that was the benefit of having chosen this topic. Yeah,
it's like the perfect, like, just believable enough to be a.
There are tons of awesome theories about this, but one of my favorites. We don't have to get into it, but one of my favorites is that the Stone Tower Temple is the Tower of Babylon.
Yeah,
It's a great game. It really is.
There's different ones about like townspeople or parts of the game representing stages of grief, because Link dies, like this is purgatory or whatever. It's a good game for theories is where I'll leave that.
All right, well, I hope you guys had fun. Kyle, do you want to hit us next?
Yeah, so I'm gonna follow up with the creepypasta is called Lavender Town Syndrome.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
That sounds delightful.
Like a nice little soap.
It sounds so good.
So
let's take the creepiest part of Pokemon ever and put the word syndrome after it.
It doesn't
have drowned in the title.
So but a little God, can I talk now? Thank you.
It's your turn.
Before I get into it, for anyone unfamiliar at home, Lavender Town is one of the cities in the original Pokemon games, Pokemon Red and Blue, or Red and Green in Japan, where this urban legend takes place. It's a very small city. It's only got 5 buildings in it, no gyms, just a Pokemon Center, 3 houses, and the central feature of the city, Pokemon Tower, which exists in canon as a graveyard for Pokemon. It's also got some of the best music in the game, which is central to the story. So, Lavender Town Syndrome. The idea is in the very original release, like before they sold out and had to like make more copies of the game. the original release of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan, February 27th, 1996. The rumor has it that these cartridges contained a different file for the Lavender Town music than was released afterwards or worldwide. The basic melody is the same. It's that doom 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 doom, like that Scooby-Doo.
It is very
Pokemon,
Scooby-Doo.
like 8-bit Scooby-Doo music. But what's different about this one is when kids playing the game would get to Lavender Town, they would experience these weird symptoms. They'd get these headaches, these like really blinding migraine headaches. Some kids would get nauseous to the point of throwing up. And this is out of the tiny itty bitty like original Game Boy speaker.
It's like the brown note, but instead of pooping, you just feel sad.
You get.
I was gonna say like the questionable terrorist attack that happened to those people in the government building, but yeah, your comparison is also good.
They other kids reported like a feeling of dread, like more so than the creepiest city in a Pokemon game should. And there are rumors even of kids, walking to the top of their apartment buildings and jumping off, or hanging themselves. Rumor has it about 200 kids committed suicide.
Holy
in this
shit!
Way. And many more experienced the headaches and the nausea and the vomiting. But what's especially creepy about this is no adults were affected by this. No adults who picked up the cartridge from their kid and listened to the music or heard the music complained about any of these symptoms, the headaches, the nausea, the feeling of dread, which led people to believe that the symptoms were caused by tones that can't be heard by adults. We've all experienced something like this. There's that annoying app that was popular around the beginning of iPhones and Android's life that played a tone, and if you couldn't hear it, you were old. And there's actual science behind that. Your ear bones kind of keep growing, and they lose their sensitivity to high frequencies as you get older. So that means the person who put this file in the game, or someone working on the music, included these tones that would be sensitive to children. And it gets weirder. So this was in 1996. This was only in the Japanese files of the game, Red and Green, the first run even. So not even like it didn't even happen like to a huge population after the games really took off in popularity. This was just like the initial buyers of the game. But someone in 2010 did a spectral analysis of the audio. You can run the audio. There are programs that'll show you the frequencies that are playing, and sometimes you'll find images in it. Aphex Twin is a artist who's known for he hid his face, his weird logo face, in one of his songs.
Wait, you can do that?
Yeah, that's real.
That's fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I did not know that.
But in this spectral analysis of the original audio, they found images of the Pokemon Unknown.
Whoa.
Those of you who don't know,
Yeah, I remember Unknown. You'd surf along a specific coastline and you'd catch Unknown.
Unknown were not Pokemon in the original games. They
I
didn't
was thinking missing.
No.
Unknown are the ones that came in a different generation. I got
they were like the letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, Unknown didn't show up until the second generation of Pokemon games, Silver and Gold, and they were used. They're Pokemon that they're all the same Pokemon, but they look like different letters of the alphabet.
I believe they debuted in the Pokemon movie. Actually,
yeah, I think you're right.
I think they were in the movie and then in the games.
Well, if I recall, I think they had made most of the second gen Pokemon along with first gen, right?
They started working on Gen 2 almost immediately after completing Gen 1. But so in this spectral analysis, someone found these images of unknown Pokemon, again, that didn't exist until the Pokemon movie, or more officially, Silver and Gold came out. And they had the different alphabet letters of unknown that spelled out "leave now."
No.
Always advice you should take. Anytime.
I'm sure they immediately left, and that's the end of the story.
They took the advice.
and that is Lavender Town syndrome. It's more of an urban legend than a full-on creepypasta.
I like that.
There's not, and what really drew me to this one is Pokemon Red and Blue had tons of those like early internet, or not even early internet, because a lot of this was pre-internet for us, but a lot of those urban legends like that we all knew about,
Mew truck,
but no one. The Mew truck, Missing No, the Infinite Candy. Like,
Blue.
we all knew about that stuff before, like, the internet, and we all passed it around. And Peekaboo, like Bill's Garden, all of these cool urban legends, and like this just slots perfectly into that like early, almost pre-internet like.
The collective, it was the collective kid unconscious.
Yeah, like I heard one kid listened to like Pallet Town music late at night and he killed himself. Like that's the kind, like, not cool obviously, but like that's the kind of like urban legend tone that really attracted me to this.
I said
one.
Jinx 3 times in the mirror and spun around, and then a racist Pokemon appeared.
It was really racist, wasn't it?
Well, and like that music on its own was creepy enough. And Lavender Town on its own was creepy enough. And like there was so much in that one section of the game to put a little bit of nightmare into it.
And it's the, like, again, like, I think Pallet Town is only smaller city in the game, and that's only by building count. Like, I think Pallet Town's actually takes up a bigger, like, amount of pixels than Lavender Town does, but it's this tiny city. It's got the Ghost Tower in it. Pokemon Tower is where you catch Ghastly and Haunter in the game, like, and it's just got this. It's just the nice little sprinkle of flavor on top that makes it like extra creepy.
It's one of those weird parts too. Like, it does that Pokemon thing where it briefly reminds you that it's like the real world, in that there's death, because death is never even contemplated. It's never even mentioned. Everyone, you faint or you white out or you whatever. And now it's like, oh, Pokemon can die.
Yeah, that's and like your rival in the game, when he meets you in the Pokemon Tower, says like, "Oh, I'm here to bury."
Does he actually
Raticate.
say that?
Yeah,
like his Raticate dies in the canon of the game. Yeah.
Wow.
He does.
Shoot, I didn't. My 8-year-old brain forgot that.
And the other thing I really liked about this one is there was a Pokemon-related epidemic in Japan that kind of mirrors.
It's getting a lot of nodding heads right now.
So there's an episode of the Pokemon anime that did not air in the US, the famous, infamous Porygon episode did not air in the United States because the combination of like Porygon's flashing light eyes and Pikachu's thunderbolt in one scene caused an epidemic of seizures in Japan when the episode first aired. And they like 4Kids or whatever the studio that aired it in Japan like immediately pulled the episode. You can only find it now if you go digging through the internet for a downloadable copy. But like that was a real world thing that this rumor is, I think, playing off of, and what just adds that extra level of like, I believe it, like to it that a 8, 9-year-old needs to like, did you hear?
I think we're
in Lavender
I think
Town,
we're actually, go ahead.
the kid killed himself.
Please.
Like that's the
the way that you said that, I imagine all kids are wearing trench coats. Like, and they're in a back alley smoking a cigarette in the darkness.
You didn't have a trench coat when you were in 1996, Todd?
I wasn't that kid, not yet at least.
But yeah, that's Lavender Town syndrome. Does anyone have anything else to add before we move on to Todd?
I have a weird random theory that Hollywood Undead sampled the Lavender Town music in a song on not their most recent album, but 2 albums ago. Just in case anybody cared.
What's the song?
I Don't Want to Die, maybe? I don't know. I would have to look at
Perfect.
it. Yeah, I know it's really fitting. But I was, because that music is so iconic, and I was in the gym one day because I'm trash and listen to Hollywood Undead, and was listening to
What's wrong with Hollywood Undead?
nothing in my opinion. But then every time I tell somebody I like Hollywood Undead, they're like, "You're garbage." Like, I didn't.
It's better than Five Finger Death Punch.
And also, if we're talking about who listens to what trash,
please go on Twitter and Instagram at debate this. At
tell us what is trash,
and tell Matt how trash he is for listening to Hollywood Undead.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna trash people for what they're listening to at the gym, I specifically remember Kyle tweeting something about listening to Ariana Grande.
I thought it was Enya.
No. Yeah, Enya's way worse. I listen to Ariana all the time. Okay.
No, it happened.
Well, before we move on, we're actually this is gonna be our first ever Debate This 2-parter. Ooh. So
it's a spooky 2-parter.
The Spooktacular Part 2. So
Too
we
spooky.
We're awesome here. So we're actually gonna cut it off right now. So next week, tune back in. We'll post a new episode. It's gonna be part 2 of our video game creepypastas. Until then, follow along, hit us up at DebateThisCast on all social media. Please, if you like the show, comment, 5 stars on iTunes, all the usual podcast stuff. Until next time.